Hello and welcome back to another episode of Wide Awake Politics. This is episode 2 from Thursday, January 23rd, 2025. This is a follow-up. The first episode, we talked about Inauguration Day, Monday, January 20th. We made it through the Capitol events all the way to the Capital One Arena appearance from Donald Trump and his family. And then this episode, we're probably going to be really focused on the executive orders that were signed when President Trump returned to the White House and during that time period. So a lot of today's and this episode's discussions will be from whitehouse.gov. You can go there to find a lot of information on the current administration, what actions they're taking, what issues are, priorities they have, all that kind of stuff. And you can find correspondence, all that kind of stuff, contact information, if you need help looking for different things. Now, there is a transition between the previous administration and the new administration, so there are some missing links. Now, however, that does not mean that some of the missing links that we're seeing are there just because we're waiting on them to grant us, to update them. One of the ones that they're not haven't updated is the Spanish language site. We have a lot of Spanish speakers in America. It'd be nice if they had that, but okay. Another one that I had posted on my socials yesterday that had been taken down, and it's purposely taken down, is the White House Office for Gun Violence Prevention. It took a lot of advocation from a lot of different organizations to include people in Congress. And it took until, President Biden took action to actually establish a White House office for the prevention of gun violence. I'm not trying to be any type of way here, but we did have another school shooting just yesterday. So gun violence is a real problem in this country, and to remove an office, just trying to get to the bottom of it and find solutions and to help a problem that affects all Americans, because at any point in time, any of us can be a victim of gun violence in this country. We can't go to schools. We can't go to churches. We can't go to grocery stores. We can't go to movie theaters. We can't go to parades. We can't go to malls without the possibility of somebody in this country picking up a weapon and using it violently against us. Now you can say, oh, what about the people that are running people over and stabbing people? Those are problems too. However, let's look at the ways to prevent the biggest killer of our nation's children, gun violence. But that office doesn't exist anymore in the White House. So, but you can find on this website the executive orders that have been signed by the president. So these are the executive orders immediately following. These are the ones that follow the ones that were signed at the Capitol. So I'm not going to go through every single thing in every single one of these executive orders, because I believe that we all have free will to be able to go to the whitehouse.gov website and look at them and see which ones you think are deserved or not. And then let's also keep in mind why we believe that, why a majority of the people that voted for Trump said that why they elected him. They elected him for inflation, lowering prices, and going after criminals, right? Going after, obviously they've concerns with the border. Fair. Let's also remember that the last day of the Biden-Harris administration, border captures and illegal crossings were lower than whenever Trump left office under a COVID administration with all of his policies of stay in Mexico and everything else. But those are just facts. I don't know. but the border is important. We need to secure our borders. We need to understand that we can't be having people that are here, it's same as Americans. You don't kill people, you don't rape people, you don't commit heinous crimes and get to stay here or get to live here freely. And when I say leave here freely, I mean out in the open and not in prison for doing crimes, to include Americans. I don't think that's a controversial statement. And I think that we can all agree that we don't think that people should be free if they killed people, raped people, all of those things. Anyway, but we'll get to some of the stuff behind that. So I want to get to the first initial rescissions of harmful executive orders and actions. So this is a giant executive order that is a running list of all of the, again, I'm going to stick to the definitions that the Trump administration is using. Harmful. These are a list of all the harmful executive orders that he wants to revoke. Sticking to the definitions of what they believe, right? So the first, I'm not going to read all of it to you, but I am going to read certain things because I think they are important. Section 1, purpose and policy. This isn't official things. This is not just like, just somebody rhetoric, right? This is official U.S. government. The previous administration has embedded deeply unpopular, inflationary, illegal, and radical practices within every agency and office of the federal government. He goes on to blame DEI and climate extremisms for all of these things, for all of the issues that we have. To commence the policies that will make our nation united. These policies that he's revoking, to revoke them, it's going to make us more united, right? It's going to make us more united, fair, safe, and prosperous. So again, these are dangerous. Let me make sure I'm using it right. Not dangerous. Harmful orders that have to be revoked to ensure that we remain united, fair, safe, and prosperous. Harmful. So these are just a few. There's an entire list. I'm not going to go into all of them. But the first one, okay. The first one is Executive Order 13985. He revoked that because advancing racial equity and support to underserved communities through the federal government is harmful. Keep going. There's a lot of COVID things that were overturned. Fine. Maybe there's reasons to overturn those. Maybe they're out of date. But if they have valid things, then we should probably leave these executive orders in place until they are replaced with something that matches that or closes the loophole or whatever, right? I think that's pretty fair. But no, we're just going to get rid of these things. Executive Order 13988, preventing and combating discrimination on the basis of gender identity or sexual orientation. Harmful, so says the administration, and repealing that will make us more united. Oh, this one's fun too. 13989, ethics commitment by executive branch personnel. Because having that in there is harmful. Protecting public health and the environment and restoring science to protect the climate crisis. Harmful. Okay. Bunch of other stuff with COVID. Anything that has to do with he's revoked anything that has to do with civil immigration enforcement. Protecting worker health and safety is one that was revoked. I assume it has around COVID, but I could be wrong. Protecting the federal workforce. Okay. Now, this is the one that I'm going to get a little bit spun up about. Executive Order revoking Executive Order 14004, enabling all qualified Americans to serve their country in uniform. Enabling all qualified Americans to serve their country in uniform. Revoking this this is harmful. This is what he said there. This is harmful practices. Harmful practices. What does this even mean? Enabling all qualified Americans to serve in their country in uniform. This was the executive action that Biden took to ensure that transgender people could serve in our military. They could voluntarily serve, that they are qualified in every other way. They're qualified in every way, just like anybody else. And they voluntarily picked up their hand and swore an oath to the Constitution. And we just told them, with one fell swoop of a pen from the President of the United States, that they are unworthy to serve our country. This is at the same time that you have Republicans still tell you, and then they'll start lambasting on television. We have a recruiting crisis, but we're going to take it upon ourselves to kick out volunteers that are qualified in every way to serve. It's unbelievable. It would be unbelievable if you hadn't been paying attention. See, people say, "Oh, well, it's just to protect, like there's an issue, like it'll cause issues within the ranks, like people will be confused, and it's just going to cause a bunch of problems to have transgender people serving openly in the military." That was the same excuse that they use for people like me who happen to be gay during "Don't Say," then you can't say gay, right? Don't ask, don't tell was a thing. We couldn't if the wrong person found out or the wrong person wanted to use it against us, they could go mandatory and say, they're gay. Let's figure out a way to get them out. But then Don't Ask, Don't Tell came out, and they were like, well, we're just not going to ask them anymore. Maybe if they don't tell us and we don't ask them, if they don't tell us, then they can't get kicked out. But then they were like, well, let's let them serve openly. And then people were like, oh, no. That's just going to cause a bunch of issues in the military if you have them serving openly. No, it didn't. It had zero difference from one day to the next. There was no difference in what happened. I was in the military at the time when it happened. It was great. Nothing changed. Just like when trans people voluntarily serve in our military, nothing changes. Just like whenever they try to use the same excuse to not have women serve in the military. Same thing. Same excuse for not having people of color serve. Same excuse to not having them serving together with white people. These are all the same things to try to prevent other people from doing something that we all know that they can fucking do, right? It's hateful. It's hateful. There's no other way around it. It's hateful. Anyway, so so that'll be interesting to see how we deal with qualified individuals, trans people who now don't exist to the Trump administration, but now they can't exist in service. The next one, 14006, reforming our incarceration system to eliminate the use of privately operated criminal detention facilities. Let me explain this. We just talked about in the last one about the terrible, terrible pardon that Biden made for the Cash for Kids judge because he was getting paid for kickbacks by ensuring that the privately funded prisons, privately operated prisons, that they get their money, right? Because the more people that they have in the prison, the more money they get. So The Biden administration took an executive action, an executive order out to figure out and find a way to take us from an incarceration system that did have privately operated criminal detention facilities, criminal and detention facilities, and make it to the point to where we completely remove them. Completely remove them. One swoop of a pen, they're back. And wouldn't you know it, that one of the biggest things they talk about with mass deportations is needing more detention facilities. And wouldn't you know it, that there's members of Congress who hold stock in some of these privately operated criminal detention facilities? I wonder how much their stock rose after that executive order got taken out, and while they were, debating some of the bills that are going through. We'll see how quickly these detention facilities for migrants comes up, how long that they're going to be sitting in those detention facilities. These are people. These are actual people. People are making profits off of people. Yeah. You wonder why, people were spun up, about, some of the rescissions of what's happened here. Again, President's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology. Remove that. That's harmful. It's illegal. It's terrible. Tackling the climate crisis at home and abroad. Okay. Y'all are going to get rid of, this administration is going to get rid of anything that has to do with climate. It's going to get rid of anything that has to do with equity on any bounds. But then this one, strengthening Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act. Executive Order 14009. This may be the one. There's another, it may be this one or maybe another one. But one of the things here is that there was a kind of a gap in the Affordable Care Act where the monetary compensation for single moms wasn't as high as it should have been, and it wasn't as equal as it should have been for other people in the same category. And so that wasn't okay. So that actually, either this one or another one, closed the loophole there. It closed that and allowed them to get paid same. Single moms to get paid same as what they were supposed to get paid. So instead of saying hey, we need to find another way to close that gap or close that loophole, and make sure it's codified into law with Congress, and we'll keep that in place here until we do that. Instead of saying that, they called this harmful to the American people, and they just revoked it with one stroke of a pen. So now, how does that work for the women, single moms? Creating a comprehensive regional framework to address the causes of migration, to manage migration throughout North and Central America, and to provide safe and orderly processing of asylum seekers at the United States border. Revoked. Establishing of interagency task force on the reunification of families. Revoked. It's harmful. A lot of stuff. Oh, yeah. Promoting access to voting, guaranteeing educational environment free from discrimination on the basis of sex, including sexual orientation or gender identity. Harmful to guarantee an environment free from discrimination. Yep. A lot of climate stuff. Advancing equity and justice for Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, Pacific Islanders. A lot of stuff. Anything that has to do with advancing equity and justice for any group of Americans is revoked. Clean energy, revoke that. This one's interesting. 14060 is establishing the United States Council on Transnational Organized Crime. Why are we getting rid of a council on transnational organized crime? But it's revoked. It's gone. Continue to strengthen Americans' access to affordable, quality health coverage. Revoked. Advancing equity for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and intersex individuals. This is the one where I'm just like, oh, you're just harmful. This is listed as harmful to the American people. This is listed as this is a priority for this administration. Revoking Executive Order 14087 of October 14th, 2022. Lowering prescription drug cost for Americans. Listed as harmful to the American people. So there's a lot of more COVID stuff, safe, secure, trustworthy development. Oh, this is an interesting one. Executive Order 14110, October 30th, 2023. Safe, secure, and trustworthy development and use of artificial intelligence. I think we all have seen AI grow, in our lifetime, and especially over the last few years. And there are really good things that should come out of AI, right? There's even the boost to the AI infrastructure that they talked about yesterday. I think there was like a $500 billion investment from like OpenAI and all this stuff, which was later challenged by Elon, because Elon doesn't like the OpenAI folks. They are in legal issues. So Elon's been tweeting up a storm about how much that they don't have the money that was promised at yesterday's meeting. So we'll see there. But back to what this executive order did for the safe, secure, and trustworthy development and use of AI. AI can provide so much for the future. It's already just proving to be immensely helpful in the medical industry, and the thought of what can happen is just amazing. Now, my view of AI is we should harness that technology to make everybody's human lives easier, right? It should be doing all of the things to make our lives easier, so we can, as a society, focus on the things that we want to be focused on, doing better with making sure that everybody can, we can eliminate things that we want to eliminate: poverty, food supply, like food shortages, all of these things. We can make sure people are fed. We can focus on education. AI doesn't need to be writing scripts, though. AI doesn't need to be creating art. That's what our minds are for. We should be the creatives. We've made this technology to make creatives. Like, let that do the hard work. That's what technology is supposed to do. It's supposed to make our lives easier. And to do that, you have to be able to make it safe, secure, and trustworthy, because we've already seen like the deep fakes, right? Like, you can literally we could be having a discussion. We could be doing this right now, and this could be AI generated. I may not even be talking to you right now. I really am. We should probably develop a safe word over time if we're going to do this. But I don't know what that is right now. It's not there yet. But anyway, but AI is a powerful, powerful tool, and it's going to do great things for the future for us if we ensure that it's built safely, securely, and trustworthy. And we'll see. There's so much potential. But we revoked the safe, secure, and trustworthy development and use of AI. I hope we codify some sort of something soon to figure out how to ensure that, the wrong people aren't harnessing and getting all the data that has to go in for this, because that could cause some huge issues, right? But moving on. A lot of order talking about the secession within different departments that was ordered on January 3rd. Yeah. So, these are the ones that he rescinded again because he felt that the Trump administration felt that were harmful, right? Come on. Come on. And that revoking them will unite us. Didn't any of that feel uniting? Any of that feel like he was helping with your grocery prices? So, what do we do? So there'll be legal fights on a couple of these things. Some of these things we can't do anything like it's in his purview to do these things. Strengthening Medicare Affordable Care Act. We can't do anything right now because we're in the minority. So what we can do is ensure that we are contacting Republicans that may be on the fence about some of these things. I contacted some of the senators that were on the fence about Pete Hegseth. I had him up on social media. I was not hateful or anything else, but I think it's a time that if you have something to say, they're more likely to listen if you are respectful. And just tell them what you're feeling, Pete Hegseth is not qualified for the position, nor does he hold the temperament for that role. We will be less safe with him. And please vote no. So those are the types of things that you can do. It may or may not make a difference, but those are the things that we can hold them to. The people in Congress right now are faced with how they want people to remember them. And I don't know how that looks for some people because I don't think the majority of people get into politics to play the partisan games. Not the majority of them. And then I've seen some that start off like that, and then all of a sudden into their second and third terms, they are a caricature of themselves. But now we have to really look at our representatives and say, do they have the character? And hold them accountable. Because they're the ones that have to hold this administration accountable. So we're going to continue on with some of the other executive actions that were taken the first night after the first night of Monday, January 20th. And we'll follow up right after this.